Hello everyone, welcome back to our next installment of Smack 101. This time we're talking about autos or auto rotations. So first of all, what is an auto rotation? Well, a helicopter has the beauty that when the motor quits or you put it to a idle, or if anything were to happen in the air, you can successfully land without crashing your helicopter. So just like an airplane has a dead stick, helicopters have what we call auto rotations. So the way an auto rotation works is we're going to start from a certain altitude and we're going to hit the throttle hold switch. Now the throttle hold switch is usually on the right side, either on the top position or in the back position. And when you hit hold, that's going to bring your motor to an idle. If it's a nitro or if it's an electric, it's just going to turn it off. Your main gear has a one-way bearing in it, which allows your helicopter blades to keep spinning while the motor's stopped or idling and your clutch is disengaged for the nitro. Now, this is going to allow us to practice so that in case your motor does quit or your battery comes undone or you have, your battery puffs in the air or motor shaft breaks or any number of things that might happen in the air. If you have a problem, if your tail goes out, there's lots of things you need to be able to do in auto for all these reasons. So I'm going to try to walk you through the very basic steps of an auto rotation. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to activate our throttle hold switch. I'm going to show you how to do that. The next thing we're going to do is we're just going to practice what I call baby autos. We're going to take the helicopter. Here I've got my Synergy N5C. We're just going to hover it around maybe a foot or so and we're going to hit the throttle hold button. When I hit throttle hold, we're going to slowly feather in some collective and it's going to land nice and gently on the ground. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to do baby autos. Next, we're going to practice auto approaches. So we're going to practice full approaches. I always like to take the helicopter, let's say we'll start maybe 100 feet or so. I always draw a 45-degree angle line straight down. You already know how to do forward flight if you've watched the previous installment of Smack 101. So we're going to draw a 45-degree line. We're going to overshoot ourselves and we're going to land. Now we're going to practice this whole approach under power. The reason we're doing it under power is so that you can maintain your orientation and just kind of get a feel for it. Once you feel like you're ready to hit the hold switch, what we're going to do is we're going to turn up our throttle hold switch so you can almost barely hover. So let's say the blades will be spinning a little bit, it'll just kind of get light on the skids in our throttle hold. We'll go in, we'll hit hold with the high throttle hold, and we'll come in and you'll have lots of time and room to make a few mistakes on the way down for your auto. Lastly, you can put it to a true idle, or for electric, you can turn your motor completely off. We'll hit the hold button and you can do a fully successful auto. That's the goal for today in this installment. So first we're going to start with activating throttle hold and baby autos. So here we go. Okay, so now I'm going to walk you through how to set up your throttle hold on your radio. Now every radio out there is different, but for most radios we have a throttle hold menu. So this is my new 18MZ from Futaba. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to a designated menu that says throttle hold. So we're going to click throttle hold, and right here the hold position is the key part. So right now 60%, that's where my helicopter's idling. So when you start your helicopter and it idles, that's exactly where you want to hit you want to activate your hold, somewhere in the idle range. And then I also set my switch G, which in this case is this switch right here. This is my throttle hold switch. For those of you using JR or some Spectrum radios, they might put it back here, but for Futaba, I always set my hold right here. So this is a normal condition, so this is flying around. When I flick it up, that puts my motor to an idle, and I still have control over all of my pitch, and this is going to allow me to do an auto. So we can, what we're gonna do is we're gonna fire up the helicopter now that I showed you how to do this, and we're gonna get into what we call baby autos. So let's do that. Baby auto tie. Okay, now we've got our little training camp friend set up. Now time to show you what we're gonna do with what I call baby autos. So now my throttle hold is actually working. So I'm gonna flip the switch up, and you can see I can move my pitch up and down, and the motor continues to run in throttle and at an idle, which is perfect. That's exactly where we want it. So you can see my pitch going up and down, and my motor is staying at one idling point, which is where I set it on my throttle hold menu. So now we're gonna do our baby auto. So this is what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna spool up, and I'm gonna go into my idle up 1 head. I can go into any head speed, just normal head speed is fine. So I'm in my normal head speed. Okay, I'm about a foot off the ground, and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit hold. And when I hit hold, I'm gonna slowly feed in collective so that it lands nice and gently. So watch. Hold, slowly feed in collective. When it's down, I lowered my stick. Now this is very, very, very important. As soon as I'm done my little auto, as soon as the skids hit the ground, I'm gonna lower my stick. Why? Because I've seen wind come in. If you stay at, if your rotors are spinning a little bit and you've got some 0 degrees pitch or more, I've seen wind come up and tip a helicopter over. As soon as the skids hit the ground, you always go to full negative. So let's do that again. Now this is if your pitch curve has like a -10 degrees pitch setup, or even like a -4, -5 degrees setup. Either way, it's the same exact stick movements. I know some people reduce their pitch curve. I run a straight pitch curve in throttle hold. It's the same pitch curve as everything. So once again, I'm a foot off the ground, hit hold, flare, 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 skids hit the ground, go to full negative. So that's what we call baby autos. So what I'd recommend is that you do those, maybe you do 5 or 10 of them in a whole tank. Maybe you can go a little higher. No, we can go about here maybe. We'll take it up to 2 or 3 feet. Hit hold, slowly feather, negative. Now, the baby autos are cool until about, I'd say, maybe 10 feet. When you get up to, especially with a 50, when you get up to around here, you're kind of in a bad spot because you don't have enough room to let it drop and pick up some collective, but you're too low at the same time to just flat out flare. So I'd say anywhere from about here, 10 feet, to about 30 feet is a little bit too much for the baby autos. But even with the little autos, I can hit hold probably up here. So I can hit hold, I can drop my stick, feed in collective here, slowly feed it in, negative. So that's just kind of like a hovering sort of auto. I just want to make sure I'm not caught in that danger zone anywhere from about 10 feet to 30 feet. Obviously, if you have like a T-Rex 450 or a 500 size or something, you might want to keep these altitudes in a little bit different frame of mind. So next we're going to go over the auto approach for the forward flying autos. Okay, so once you're comfortable with the baby autos or just the tail end hover and hitting the hold, next it's time to do a forward flying auto approach. The forward flight auto is the most simple auto that we can do other than a hovering auto. Now, if you watched our last installment on forward flight, this should be a little bit easy for you if you've gotten some time to practice with your forward flight. So let's check it out. So what we're going to do is fly around. You can be a normal or idle up, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go in idle up 1 just for the heck of it. So I'm on my idle up 1. I'm going to fly over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go up. And with autos, we always want to go into the wind. So right now you can see the smoke going into the wind would be coming right at us. But as long as I'm not going downwind, I'm okay. So we're kind of at a crosswind here, so that's okay. So you always want to go into the wind. So what I'm going to do is helicopter's completely under power. I'm going to start up here. I'm going to draw a 45-degree line straight down. I'm going to keep the helicopter at exactly this angle, and I'm going to float it in just like this under power. So watch. So we're starting the auto approach now. So 45-degree angle, you're gonna drop your stick a little bit. We're gonna overshoot ourselves. We're gonna come here, and then I'm just gonna stay at a hover right here, just a few feet off the ground.
Explain why you're overshooting.
The reason I'm overshooting is so that when it comes past me, I'm actually tail in. If I were to cut myself short and come right in front of me, I'm sideways, and that's a really difficult orientation for beginners. So let's do the auto approach one more time. So we're coming in, imagine I hit throttle hold now. So here's our approach. Coming in, the helicopter's sitting perfectly flat level. I overshoot. Now I'm at a tail end sort of orientation. I flat and I end up, that's my auto approach right there. So last time, so you can see it, I can go even further out. So I'm further out, for instance. So I come in forward flight. Imagine I hit hold now, bam. So here's our approach. Nose is staying completely forward, straight and level. Helicopter's perfectly parallel to the ground. Overshoot, angle back into a hover. So that right there is our simple forward flight auto approach. Now the next step that we're going to do is we're going to go into our transmitter and we're going to turn our values up. So just check it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into here, I'm going to go into throttle hold, and instead of my 16%, I'm going to turn my number up. So I'm in throttle hold and you'll be able to hear the motor slowly start to increase. So I was at 16 per 4, that's a true idle. So I'll turn it up. You can hear my motor going a little bit. Let's see. So wait, right now we're around 29%. If you can see that on my hold position. For various radios, it might be something different. Now, if you want to take a look at my helicopter, Mr. Cameraman, I can almost barely kind of lift off the ground. It's just getting light on the skids. That's perfect. So here we go. Now what we're going to do is, once you've gotten comfortable with your forward flight auto approach, we're going to do the same thing, only this time we're going to hit that hold button. So check it out. The reason we have the hold higher is so that now you've got a little bit more room to work with than just a true idle. So here we go. I'm going to go the same exact approach before. I'm going to come in, get some going. Now I'm actually going to hit hold. Bam. I just hit hold. My motor's staying nice and turned up a little bit. So I'm overshooting, pull back. Look how much room I've got. Bam, perfect. So what I did was I flared at my, I'd say 5 to 10 feet eye level. I'm gonna flare, pull back, and just gently sit it down. And with the hold turned up, I've got lots of room to cheat. So check it out, I'll turn it up even more. So I just turn it up just a little bit more.
How do you turn it up?
And the way that I'm turning it up is I'm just simply going into my throttle hold menu and I'm just turning up the hold position. Very, very simple, just depending on the radio, just depends. So now you can see I can kind of barely lift off in throttle hold. So it's perfect. So once again, I'll show, now this is cheating even more. So we're gonna go up. I'm gonna come around. So I'm gonna go forward flight. I'm gonna hit hold, bam. Now notice the helicopter staying perfectly parallel to the ground, nose forward a little bit. Eye level, I'm gonna pull back into a hover. And look at all this time I have to set it down nice and gently. Look at that. Bam, right there. And then out of hold into normal. And that's why we turn it up, just so that you've got plenty of time at the bottom to figure it out. If you're uncomfortable with your orientation, if you turn it up, you're cheating just a little bit, it's perfect. So I'd practice these approaches as many times as you can in a day. I've done plenty of flights that are just all autos. So now I'm gonna go back into my position. Once you feel a little bit comfortable with cranking that up, so you can see here my hold position. So I turn it back down to my original 16%, exactly where I was before. Now, once you've practiced this, keep in mind, each of these, you're going to practice these a few times, flights and flights and flights. It might be a month until you feel comfortable hitting that throttle hold switch. So once you feel that you're comfortable with that, I'm going to go, we're going to put it all together with a true idle. So here we go. I'm going to idle up 1 or normal, it doesn't matter. We're going to start at a good altitude. Now I'm actually going to do a real auto. Here we go. Forward flight, bam. Hit hold, it's a true auto. Nose is staying down. Drop my collective a little bit. Eye level, flare, full throttle, and then back to negative when I land. An auto is as simple as that. Lots of guys make it real complicated. It's really not. It's just do these step by step. I guarantee you'll be able to pull off these autos at the end of watching this, and after a lot of practice. It takes a lot of practice. So always remember, keep your orientation, so overshoot yourself. Always auto into the wind, so that means if the wind was blowing the other way, we'd have to be autoing from the other way. So make sure you practice from both sides, and you should be good. So while flying around in the last flight, I came up with a few more things, so here we go. Number one, learning these. Now I know electric is very, very popular recently, but I have to say, me and my nitro buddy, I think that it's the easiest type of helicopter to learn an auto with. When you have the clutch, when you have all this stuff, it's a little bit easier to learn these autos. The problem is the electric speed controllers, yes, they have, some governor modes might have what's called bailout mode, which allows you to hit throttle hold and have it come back in, but it really doesn't allow you to turn your throttle hold up and cheat, let's say. It gets really hairy because sometimes, you know, does it arm in the higher bailout mode and stuff, so really pay attention if you're doing it with an electric. And honestly, Bert and I really don't recommend turning up the cheating throttle hold with an electric. So mainly if you've got a nitro helicopter, I'd say practice your autos mostly with your nitros, and then when you're ready with your electrics, you can do that. The nitros also allow you to bail out just as well as the electrics. You can still bail out in the electrics if your governor has it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a few different kinds of approaches, and then I'm going to show you the bailout. The bailout is when you get uncomfortable with your auto and you decide you want to click back into flying under power, you're going to release your throttle hold switch and go back under power and fly away safely. So let's do a little bit of that. So first what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how to bail out. So here we go. We're going to spool up and go into our flying mode. Idle up, and I'm going to go here. Let's just say, for instance, you've got a very strong headwind and you start out here and you're just not going to make it, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to fly in, so let's pretend we're doing that. So I'm going to hit hold, and let's say it's a really bad approach. Let's say I'm around here. All I'm going to do is release throttle hold and release it. Now what you heard was you heard my motor load up a little bit, the clutch grabbed in real hard, and it's a little bit of a risky sort of maneuver. Now my rule of thumb, other people might have different takes on this. If you're below here, let's say 10 feet, never bail out. Because what I've seen is people's, the blades will slow down, the tail will whip around when they click back in, and it'll do a funky chicken in the air. It can get really bad. Anywhere below 10 feet, I would not recommend it. So that was our bailout. Now the electrics have that as well, so keep that in mind. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that, you know, although we started our approaches overshooting, the goal is to eventually land at our feet. So I'm going to hit hold and do a regular auto. So I'm coming down, notice I'm right around zero, just a few degrees negative. And the goal is to ultimately, you know, bring it right around here, land it tail in, you know, just as a normal sort of auto. The goal is to bring it right here to our feet, if we can. That's the ultimate, you know, people really think that you're doing some good stuff when you do that. So the goal is to, you know, first learn to overshoot, and then next learn to bring it in right to your feet. So I'll show you that with enough practice, you can get it. So if you can see right there, Mr. Cameraman's head, we're going to try to land the helicopter right there. Here we go. Here we go. Now with all this practice, what you want to be careful of is you want to be careful not to stretch it too much. So just for fun, I'm going to take my auto real high up. Altitude is our friend in autos, always. I'm going to hit hold. I'm going to bring it down. My helicopter's staying perfectly parallel to the ground. I'm right around zero, just a few degrees of negative pitch. Bring it in. I'm not trying to stretch it too much. Bring it in, and we'll land right on Mr. Cameraman's head, right there. So with enough practice, you can do that. Just be careful that you've got enough altitude. If you're getting in trouble and you're below 10 feet, don't click out. Just try to flare and do that, you know, whatever you can. So this autos and everything are really going to save your helicopter. Now, as a final tip, I'm going to show you a thing that I've observed really recently, actually, that might save your helicopter. So here we go. So let's say we're flying. This is our crashing tip. Let's say you're flying and something were to happen, okay? Let's say something were to happen way out in the field, okay? Let's say I'm flying around here, right? And let's say my tail lets go, right? The first thing we always want to do is we want to hit hold. So let's say I hit hold, and you can't bring it to yourself. Just land it way out in the field. I drop my collective, I slowly raise it, tail in, and I go. What I've seen is, the thing that I'm seeing is guys for some reason always want to bring it back to themselves. They feel like they need to do that. If something goes really bad out in the middle of the field, just hit hold. If you've got plenty of room, just land it out there. Yeah, it's a little bit of a walk, but you're always gonna, you know, the goal is to make sure the helicopter lands without having to fix anything. So just drop your collective, slowly feed back in your collective as you're landing. As soon as the skids hit, go to full negative, and you just saved your helicopter. So that was our emergency autos, bailing out, and a few different approaches. Okay, so on this lovely day, we showed you some autos. Hopefully now you're a little bit more comfortable with being able to hit your throttle hold, being able to line up your approaches, and just get into the basics of autoing. Bert and I did a full episode in season 2, which contained autos for the full Smack Talk series. So if you want to check them out, please feel free to check out that episode. We did inverted autos, we did backwards autos, we did flipping autos, we did all sorts of stuff. So this is the basics of autoing. This is really, really important. There's lots of guys out there who are afraid to do autos. Please do not be one of those people. If you ever watch these series, please do not feel afraid of hitting hold. It's really going to save you. Guaranteed something will happen in the air to where you're going to need to hit throttle hold so that the helicopter doesn't kill itself, and then you're going to be able to safely land because you learn how to auto the proper way. Very lastly, what I'm going to say in closing with autos is if something ever happens, if you're ever flying and you hit your tail on the ground and the helicopter starts spinning out of control, if you feel like you've had some sort of glitch, if something's happening to where you're not comfortable with it, please hit throttle hold. If something's heading towards the pits or other flyers, always hit throttle hold. The damage that the helicopter will do under power is incredible. But if you hit throttle hold, then all it has is just the inertia of these blades spinning with no engine behind it. So please always keep safety in mind when you're flying, and this throttle hold button right here is going to save you lots of time and effort, and may even keep everybody a little bit safer. So this is our autos for Smack 101. I hope you join me next time in our next installment, where we'll be going over some forward flips into inverted hovering. So you guys take it easy, and we'll see you next time.